Welcome inside Bank of America Stadium for our first chat with new defensive coordinator Eric Washington. Eric, congrats. I know you've been in the building the last few days. So what have you been able to get done over your first week as DC?
Well, I've managed to transition out of my old office and into the new space. I'm in the process. I've been working with Coach Rivera and talking about how we're going to configure the staff and just making plans, Bill, for our first meeting as a defensive staff and talking about how we need to be prepared to engage the players on April 16th.
How do you need to be prepared for that?
It's the most important date on the calendar right now. I mean, that's our first opportunity to introduce to the players exactly the direction we're going to go in and to make sure that they have confidence in our plan and that they understand how we're going to work together as a staff and as a group of players to do everything we can to compete for a championship.
Still a couple months away, but are you able to give us a preview of what that meeting might be like or what some of that plan is?
I'd like to keep that close. I just know this, it's going to be thorough, it's going to be all-inclusive, and it's going to reflect the design, what the design of our defense is going to be. It's going to be exciting, and it's going to really be about the players. It's not about us as a staff. That plan is going to be about the players.
So Ron, at the end of the year, seemed pretty convinced that Steve Wilks was going to get a head job somewhere. That put you in a bit of a difficult spot. So what was that decision-making process like for you, whether you go and you think that Steve might get a job and you might go with him somewhere, or to stay here?
I'll say this. I was fortunate to be in that position. It's great to have options when you're a coach, or in any way, it's great to have options. Obviously, when Ron Rivera, who brought me to this organization, expresses a level of confidence in you in terms of moving into a role with more responsibility, you have to take a look at that. And then obviously my respect for Steve is there. I know Steve is going to be a fantastic leader. And so there were some things that were intriguing about that. But the fact that we have the players here in place, I understand and know this organization. I respect what it's all about. And also respect Coach Rivera. And that made the decision. Obviously, my family were dug in to the Charlotte community. So that really pushed me over the top in terms of deciding that I wanted to be here.
Obviously, in back-to-back years, Ron loses his defensive coordinators, Sean McDermott and then Steve Wilks. You seem like you're on track to perhaps one day follow in their footsteps. What is it about Ron where it seems like he's growing a proper coaching tree now?
Well, I think, first of all, Ron selects individuals that are secure. That's a quality that he has. He empowers you, he gives you your assignment, and he gives you room to go and to do that, which I think produces and promotes a certain level of growth professionally. And I think one of the things that Sean and Steve brought to the table, I think they were given room to grow as position coaches, as coordinators, as assistant head coaches, and they took advantage of those things. So I think Ron starts identifying individuals who have a like-minded process, and he gives them room to do their jobs.
Why are you ready for this role right now?
Well, because number one, it starts with this. I think in any role you have to have a certain level of self-confidence. I'm a confident person. I believe I'm the right person for the job because I understand that this assignment is not about Eric Washington. It's about making sure that our staff and our players have the room, the devices, the plan to be the absolute best that they can be. I'm merely a facilitator, and we'll have a great plan. We'll be extremely organized, and we'll go out and we'll do the things that we're capable of doing and supporting the overall mission of this team.
Am I wrong to assume that you'll now move up to the booth to coach from up top now?
Yes, you are wrong to assume that. Yeah, I've got some ideas on that. I'm going to sit down and kind of take a look at where I would be most effective managing the game as a play caller, and make sure, more importantly, our staff, we're all coordinated. And so that decision will be kind of forthcoming.
Wasn't a huge difference between what Sean did and then what Steve did. Obviously, there was some more aggressiveness last year, but will we see any changes, and if so, what will they look like going into 2018?
We have a foundation. We have a system, if you will, and that system consists of being able to create negative plays, which means sometimes you're pressured. It also means that sometimes you can rely on the basic design of your defense to generate those things also. And so we'll sit back and look at what the offensive trends are, where we're strong personnel-wise, and then we'll come up with a sound, solid balance of attacking mentality in terms of adding an extra guy or letting our base foundation do the job for us. So that's we'll have to sit down and look at that like we've done all of the years that I've been here in the offseason, and we'll come up with the best approach.
You said something interesting to Max Henson last week about it. Towards the end of the year, you guys actually weren't pressuring as much as most assumed. Can you expand on that a little bit?
One of the things that Max and I talked about is that, our desire or the idea of pressuring was kind of a result of some of the things that were happening, that offenses were imposing on us in terms of the amount of people in protection and what they were doing. And so we kind of had to have a response and a reply to that. And toward the end of the season, our rush was really humming. We were able to generate some pressure with our front four. And obviously, and also, our offense plays a big part in that. I mean, depending on where we are in the football game, if those guys are ahead, if we're playing from behind, some of those things will affect how you deploy blitzes and pressures.
One of the big questions heading into this offseason is whether or not Julius Peppers will be back. First, I'm curious, how would you describe that bond that you guys formed starting a few years ago in Chicago?
Just mutual respect. I have so much respect for JP's character. His talent is out of this world. We all know that. Those are obvious things. But the thing that I've been able to get close to is his character and his desire to be the best professional that he can possibly be, and to appreciate the impact and the influence that he has on the other guys in our position group and in our locker room. I have an immense amount of respect for that. And so that started before I got here. I was so excited that he was going to join us, and he did a tremendous job last year. And so we'll just see what happens. We'd love to have him back, obviously.
The guy obviously has had a bunch of coaches throughout his career, but even that a few years ago when he was thinking about perhaps coming here, one of his reasons was you. So what is it about you that you think that clicks with Julius?
JP could really answer that. I don't want to speak for him. I just know that my approach with JP, with Julius Peppers, and with every person that I've had an opportunity to work with is I want to give them my absolute best on a daily basis. That every day I walk into that room, I want to move them 3 inches closer toward being in the position to be productive. And I think Julius responds to that. I think he sees someone that's consistent and my preparation and my sincerity. And I don't know why anyone would not respond to that.
So he's down in Miami right now, probably thinking about whether or not he should come back. Are you going to do any lobbying?
You can't. The NFL tells you that you can't. And you know what? The thing is, you give a guy like that a room to assess and evaluate what he wants to do. You want a man like that to play as long as he possibly can play because of what it means to you on and off the football field. And you give him room to look at what he wants to do and to make those decisions. And I'm hopeful, and I'll respect whichever direction he decides to go in.